and welcome to At the Forefront Fintech Conversations. I'm Sam Belden, head of content at Forefront, and with me today is Jim Toes. Jim is the president and CEO of the Security Traders Association, better known as STA. Jim, welcome to At the Forefront.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having us on today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, for those of you who don't know, STA is a grassroots organization that represents individuals in the securities industry, and they provide advocacy and education on key market structure issues. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of Jim's recent travels to their various affiliate events around the country, and some of what Jim is seeing in terms of the market structure priorities, some of the topics around the SEC and other emerging issues that have been top of mind for members and attendees at their events. So, Jim, it's hard to believe that Q1 is already at a close. We're well into Q2 at this point, and I know that you have had a variety of affiliate conferences that you've been attending, STA New York most recently, but also STA Chicago at the beginning of the year, Mid-Atlantic, Florida as well. Tell us what you've been experiencing at those events and any takeaways, consistent themes that come to mind.
Sure. And we've also had STA Arizona, which is our newest affiliate that had their event in February. So it's been a pretty busy year for the affiliates. And I think, listen, there's been some continuity that we've seen throughout all the 5 or 6 events that have been held so far this year. One, the registration numbers continue to be strong. Across the board, they've been up around 10 to 15%. And it's probably due to multiple factors, starting with the content. The content at the events this year has been outstanding. There's obviously been a lot of issues to talk about, and the ability to get the right people on the stage talking about it has been very helpful with drawing registration on it. We've also had a couple of initiatives, some old, some new, that have also helped with the attendance. We have an STA Women in Finance effort that's in its 10th year. We're going to have our 10th anniversary in October at the symposium. That continues to kind of like filter down into the affiliates where they've had good efforts there. And then our newest one is our Young Professionals, which is really reaching out to people who are new to the industry and trying to bring them engaged with them. And then, finally, I also think too, we had moved our event from DC to Florida last year.
That's right.
And I think that kind of triggered a lot of the affiliates to be maybe thinking about doing something different. So I think the combination of good content, some really good initiatives that we have, and then also a change of venues with some of these affiliates have contributed to what's been, off to a very good start for us.
Awesome. That all makes sense. I know just anecdotally, having gone to a few of your events over the years, the uptick that we've seen in the young professionals in particular has been really great to see. You're getting that community activated out there. So good stuff there. You mentioned topics and content. As far as the events that you've been attending so far this year, have there been any consistent topics that have come up time and time again? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, first off, at a high level, what we've seen that we don't normally see, that we haven't seen in years past, is that, in the past we used to see issues that were very specific to either one asset class or to one market participant. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time where we've seen a range or host of issues that are kind of like impacting multiple sectors in the marketplace. So, for example, we do maintain a listed options committee, a retail committee, and an ETFs committee. There are a handful of issues it's one issue that impacts all 3 different segments.
That's right.
24/7 obviously is the most obvious one that obviously has ramifications for all types of broker-dealers, exchanges, and clearinghouses, ETFs and options across it. We also have short-dated options. Again, you would think it would be impacting options exchanges. It impacts the clearing firms as it pertains to margin, market making, and also the retail firms, and then also ETFs, which is an area that we're new in. Lots going on in the ETF space that we're very happy to have like a good committee around that to help us navigate that. But again, high level, we have several issues. The first time we've seen a couple of issues in the marketplace that have really had major impacts across multiple segments of the industry.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of issues that affect the entire industry, Paul Atkins, Donald Trump's nominee for SEC chair, recently testified before the Senate Banking Committee. What can you tell us about where that nomination stands? When can we expect an update on that front? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I mean, the nomination hearing was, it was uneventful, but it was still informative to a certain degree. I mean, I think people were kind of expecting there'd be a lot of sparks flying. Elizabeth Warren is now the ranking member. That means the ranking member means that you are the second. right now the Republicans have control of the Senate, which means that it's a Republican who chairs every single committee. But then every committee also has what they call a ranking member, and that ranking member is the most senior person in the minority. So in this case, it's Elizabeth Warren. Okay, so listen, the hearing itself, was not very. We didn't see a lot of sparks flying on it, and the reason being is that since the Republicans control the agenda, they kind of control how many people come before them at once. There's tremendous pressure, obviously, to get them pushed through the process by President Trump. But it was still informative, and I don't want to play it off as if it was just going through the process, checking the box here. Elizabeth Warren did provide a 34-page letter of questions to the nominee Paul Atkins that we're pretty confident he will respond to at some point. So that kind of gives us a good idea or a roadmap of where she will be looking to take action, or at least keep an eye on him going as he starts his tenure there. And it also kind of organizes the Democrats to get them all in the same boat, they're rowing in the same direction. All the questions that were asked at the hearing came from her letter. So so that's your job as a ranking member, is like you want to get everybody in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. Yep. So it was uneventful in the sense that there weren't any good click type short videos to put out there, but it was still informative. And and as far as the process goes, well, he got approved. The process goes is you go through the subcommittee first, the committee first, and then there'll be a full Senate vote, which actually may come by the end of this week, which we're hoping. Which we're hoping for, because obviously they go on vacation for 2 weeks.
That's right. Nice. Good. Well, thanks for that update, Jim. You talked about this idea of everyone rowing in the same direction. It does feel like we're in a stage still where the agenda for the next 4 years from a securities regulation standpoint is being set, but we're going to have that clarity soon. So when it comes to the issues that you think the Atkins SEC is going to focus on, what comes to mind there? Where do you see STA fitting into those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, as far as obviously there's a lot of issues that, that he's going to be focusing on. But again, that's a good way to frame it, is like, which ones do we feel that we're going to be engaging with them on it? And I think before we answer that, I think you need to understand that there are two basic philosophies when it comes to regulation. One is sometimes the regulator will have, what they call a merit-based philosophy, and that's where the regulator is playing a very active role, saying that Bitcoin is good and short-dated options are bad. Like, they really put an opinion on it. They really get into suitability. This product is good for retail folks. This product is not good for retail folks. Right. And then the other philosophy, which is more, we think is suited for Mr. Atkins, is more just around the disclosure base. Like, let's give investors the information that they need to make a decision. Let's give them the ability to self-assess whether they really know this stuff or not. And then we'll see if they're able to, self-certify themselves to actually take, for the investment. So that's one thing at a high level, is that, we're going from, we just had a chairman that had a merit philosophy, going to a new one now that is more disclosure based on it. The specific topics themselves, obviously, crypto's going to be, crypto's going to be, I don't know how much we're going to be engaging. We have some engagement with them as far as pertains to, ETFs. But there's so many chefs in that kitchen right now between the Treasury Department and the CFTC. It's going to be hard to move the needle there. We are looking at the consolidated audit trail. We think that has to get a completely refresh, a new look on it, making sure that it's being cost effective, making sure that it's able to do what it's supposed to do. We've had some action there as far as, PII information being taken out. So that's one area. And obviously capital formation. Yep. All right. And that's probably the area where the past administration at the SEC was negligent. They didn't do anything as far as capital formation goes. So we're looking to see what he does as far as making it easier. That's in two flavors, by the way. We need strong private markets and we need strong public markets. What is he going for public markets? What is he going to do to make it easier for companies to go public? Right. And then as far as the private markets go, which have seen tremendous growth, but this growth has happened without, but the growth has, and the economics has really been with a small amount of people. How can we get these private markets opened up and have retail investors have more access to it? So those are the two areas we're looking at.
Great. Well, that all makes sense. Listen, we're 6 months out, but it's easy to imagine some of those topics being focuses at your market structure conference this fall, STA's 92nd annual market structure conference in Washington, D.C. this October. Is it too early to touch on some of the topics that you think might be featured on stage this year?
Well, it's never too early to talk about our conference, right? And it is always on our minds. It's funny. We think that the event we think it's a very good event, obviously, and we think the reason why it is successful is really the things that we're doing the other 11 months and 2 weeks, the 3 weeks and 2 days out of the year. We're really happy to have it back in DC this year and next year. We have like 150 people walk to the conference. All right. Just to kind of give you a sense of the demographics. So these are staff members. These are government affairs people that just walk to the conference. And that's very important to, what we do as far as having name recognition in DC, even though we're not physically located down there as also. So, everything we're doing and planning this year is going to be a month earlier. So we're looking forward to having a lot of people, and hopefully we can break our record attendance.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to that, and stay tuned for updates. And if you'd like to receive updates from STA, you could head over to securitytraders.org. You could sign up for their email newsletter. You could also follow them on LinkedIn, where STA shares all of their updates, including pertaining to the conference, but also their latest thoughts on market structure issues, regulatory issues, and the other activities that they continue to do throughout the year at the national level, also at the affiliate level. So take the time to do that. And if you'd like to explore a full archive of At the Forefront podcast episodes, you could head over to forefrontcoms.com, head over to the news and insights section. So, Jim, want to thank you for appearing today. Been a great download on what you're seeing on the market structure front, the SEC front, and then just the work that you do with the affiliates throughout the year. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.